Welcome to the Psychology and Manifestation Podcast with your host, Sudane Firestar. Discover how to tap into the power of science and spirituality, the practical and the magical, to create the life of your dreams on your terms. Let's get into it. Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to another episode of the Psychology and Manifestation Podcast with your girl, Sudane Firestar. I am so happy you are here. Today, I'm talking about alignment. What is it? How do you know when you're in it? And why is it so important? Because alignment is really important for manifestation, and it has come up in a few of my other episodes. So I want to dive directly into it. It actually has a lot to do with what's happening in my life right now. And so that's why I'm just kind of going to skip over, the life update, because it's going to be integrated to a certain extent within the context of the current episode. So let's go. Alignment is so crucial for manifestation because when you're in alignment, you're connected to who you really are. And this way of seeing it comes from Abraham Hicks. And so Abraham Hicks, they will say, when you're in alignment, you know that you're in alignment because of how you feel. Like when you feel good, you know you're in alignment. When you feel bad, you know that you're out of alignment. So you let how you feel be your guidance system to show you whether or not you're connected to your true self. And it's so important because when you're in alignment, you're in an energetic match for your desires, because like attracts like. So if you think about it, if there's something that you desire, when you receive that desire, typically going to be really, really happy about it. You're going to be overjoyed. You're going to be excited, right? And if you're out of alignment and you're feeling negative emotion, you're feeling negative feelings, you're not going to be feeling what it would feel like once you received what it is that you desire. So you're not in an energetic match for what you desire because the feelings are off. You're not matching up with how you'll feel when you get that desire. So that's basically what it means. And so that's why alignment is so crucial to manifestation. And I'm not saying that means that you have to be in the brightest, happiest, sunshiniest mood all the time, because that's not really, I don't want to use the word realistic, even though that was what initially came to mind, but it's more like you're a human being, and as a human being, there are times you're going to have highs and lows. We're just like emotional creatures. So you don't necessarily want to be like manifesting from a place of toxic positivity where even when you feel badly or you don't feel your best, you're just going to pretend that you feel your best, because as people oftentimes say, what you resist persists. So you could deny your feelings, pretend that they're not there, but they're going to surface. They're going to boil over, bubble up in some way or shape or form. So you just have to acknowledge them and just be real with yourself about how you truly feel. But when it comes to manifestation, what people are really talking about in the manifestation world is your dominant vibration. So it's about how you feel most of the time. Like, do you feel like you're in a low vibration mood, or like you're vibrating at a low frequency most of the time? Like you're feeling negative emotion most of the time? So on a routine basis, daily, weekly, monthly, all year long, you feel like you're just not happy with the state of certain aspects of your life, and it just continues routinely? Or are you generally a positive, have positive feelings, and you consider yourself a positive person, and you have an occasional like crappy day? So that's different, right? So again, it's what you're manifesting from a place of your dominant vibration, how you feel most of the time. And if you're most of the time feeling positive and joyful and happy, then you're more in alignment with the things that you want to call into your life. That's why alignment is so crucial, and being in alignment is so crucial. And I think the topic of alignment is especially interesting and relevant when it comes to you as someone who is overcoming your people pleasing, or you're already in recovery from people pleasing, because you're accustomed to making other people happy, like doing things to make other people happy. You're a perfectionist. You want to get things right. You might have trouble making mistakes, as I spoke about in my previous episode. So if you want to go back to episode 7, I talk about being perfectly imperfect. But yeah, like as a recovering perfectionist and people pleaser, you're more inclined to be accustomed to seeking external approval and looking to other people to validate you and the decisions that you make. And so, when you need to be in alignment to get there, you really have to rely more so on yourself and trust yourself and the decisions that you make, and to know that you're enough and your decisions are enough. You don't need other people to tell you, yeah, that's a great decision. Yeah, you're doing the right thing. That really needs to come from you. And so, to be in alignment, you really have to check that at the door, right? That tendency to people please or to look to other people for validation. You really have to start to look more inward and trust that you know what's best for you. And when you trust yourself more, you take greater responsibility for your own life, regardless of what anyone else thinks about you or the decisions that you make. And something that really reminded me about this, and which I loved, was that there was a point when I was in therapy of like a few years ago, and my therapist at the time she reflected something back to me, and it was so simple, but to me so like profound. But I remember sitting there, like rambling to her about something that I was having a problem with in my life. And it wasn't anything like super tragic or anything, but at the time I did really feel like I was suffering in a particular situation that wasn't right for me. And I was just like, I was stuck in it and I was staying in it, even though the situation was making me feel really bad on a day-to-day basis and lowering my quality of life. And she just sat there and said to me, "It sounds like you already know what you want to do." And she was right. I did know what I wanted to do, but the issue was that I was scared of making the decision that I knew I needed to make for myself to feel happy and whole, because I was really concerned about other people's judgments, like how they were going to judge me, how would other people perceive me, because I cared a lot back then what other people thought. And I was really concerned that like I might look like I was being irresponsible, or like that my decision was crazy, and like, how does that look to everybody else? But at the end of the day, like, it was my life to live, and I had to make decisions that were going to put me back into alignment, that were going to make me feel good, happy and whole, and like improve my dominant vibration to the point where I was being true to myself and I was honoring my true self and being more connected to who I truly was, at that particular time, and who I am now. So, that's actually a great marker of like a coach or a therapist, when they don't try to solve your problems for you and tell you exactly what it is that they think that you should be doing, that they think that you should be doing, not what they think that you believe you should be doing for yourself, right? And it's like, it's not on the coach or the therapist to tell you how to live your life and what to do. Like, you have to take responsibility and ownership for your own life and make your own decisions, even though it can feel scary. And it means that you have to come out of your comfort zone and trust yourself. Like, you really have to do what's best for you. So I loved that this therapist that I had at the time said this to me, because I've never forgotten it. And it's like one of the most profound pieces of advice I've ever received. And I really did know what I wanted to do, and I did it. And initially people didn't agree with me. Like, other people in my life, friends, family members, thought I was making a mistake. But later on they got on board, and I felt so much better after I followed through and did what I thought I needed to do to feel happy. Okay, so yeah, you just have to trust yourself and sometimes do the crazy things that other people don't get yet. So this would be like an example of a therapist or a coach telling you what you should do for your life instead of letting you make your own decisions or come to the conclusion on your own. It would have been something like, for example, say I was like coming into therapy or into a coaching session. Oh, I just can't stand my job. I hate my job. And the therapist or the coach is like, well, then just quit your job. And then I'm like, maybe you're the people pleaser, right? Oh, the therapist thinks that that's what I should do. And this therapist is an expert, so I guess I should just quit my job. And then you quit your job and it's not what you really wanted to do. And it creates a disaster for you in your life because you did something that someone else told you you should do, even though it didn't feel right to you and it didn't feel like something you should have been doing, right? Because just because you hate your job doesn't mean you should quit it. Like sometimes it's a matter of like certain aspects of your job just needing to be renegotiated, right? Or maybe, changing the team that you work on. Maybe you get to move to a different team. There's so many alternative ways of solving that type of problem besides just quitting your job. So it would be really irresponsible for a coach or a therapist to just be like, just quit your job and, basically give you the answer and tell you how to solve your problem. Like instead, what she said, it sounds like you already know what you want to do and it wasn't about a job, but she told me I already knew at that particular moment, right? So I already had my solution. I just needed to have the courage to follow through on it. And that's the marker of a good coach or therapist. And I'm going through a similar experience now in terms of feeling like some of the decisions I'm making feel a little bit crazy. Like, like, should I really be doing this? But they feel good to me, so I'm following through. And so I had mentioned on a couple of other episodes that I'm enrolled in a couple of courses. And I decided to take on a third course. And I mean, these are paid courses, so I'm paying for all of them. And I was like, from a financial perspective, I'm like, is this a good idea? Does this seem like right to do? But I didn't look to anyone else to answer that question for me. Like I sat with it for a while, at least for 24 hours. And I was like, yeah, this feels right to me. I see how this all fits into my life and how it's going to pay off in the long term. And so I went ahead and I put my energy behind it fully and I did it, even though I felt kind of like, seems a little bit crazy, but I think it's right for me. Not that I think it's right for me, I know it's right for me. And it's so funny because when I enrolled in that third course, the third course I enrolled in is taught by Amanda Francis. And she said the same thing in this course. I can't remember exactly which module she spoke about it in, but she was saying that when she's up leveling in her life, that it feels a little bit crazy or irresponsible, but that she does it anyway because it feels good to her. And so she follows through on it. She's not really looking for validation from anyone else or anyone else's approval regarding her decisions. And she trusts her gut. She follows through on what she knows is right for her. And she's manifested so many incredible things, which I'll talk about soon. So the bottom line with respect to this is that you need to trust yourself. You need to trust your own gut, even when other people don't get it. It doesn't make sense on a surface level to other people, but it feels right to you. Then you need to follow through and trust yourself. I also want to give you permission to quit. And you might be like, what? It's okay to quit certain things. Like say that you've started something and then once you're in it, it feels like it's out of alignment with who you truly are. It's no longer right for you. I'm giving you permission to quit. Oftentimes, I feel like, in my experience anyway, that quitting has a negative connotation. Like quitting is oftentimes associated with failure. Like if you're quitting, then you're giving up. And that's not necessarily what quitting means all the time. Like there's different types of quitting. So there are two types of quitting. You could be quitting because you don't believe in yourself, or you could be quitting because you're quitting from a place of fear, but you could also be quitting because something is no longer serving you. You've come to the realization that it's out of alignment with who you truly are, and it just doesn't match your values anymore. Like maybe it did once upon a time, or maybe it never did, and you just got involved in it in the first place because someone else told you should do it, and you weren't trusting your gut that it wasn't something that you really wanted to do, but you did it anyway. Then in those kind of situations, the love-based decision, the loving thing to do for yourself and to reconnect to who you truly are is to quit. If you're only doing something because you feel like you should be doing it, or like it's, you're going to look bad, you're going to look like a failure if you quit, then if it's coming from a fear-based place, or, fears and doubts are what's driving your decision to quit, or the feeling that you have that you don't want to act on, that you want to quit, then that's the moment when you need to clear limiting beliefs. And limiting beliefs are like beliefs that you have that you can't have or achieve something or do something that you want to do. And they are typically negative beliefs that are not serving you. They're like blocking you. They're getting in the way of you going wherever it is that you want to go in your life. And there's like some they're not true, right? So there's something false about them. They're not ultimately true, yet you're letting them be your guide. And so you need to clear them to get to your next level. So I've already mentioned this, but a negative belief or a limiting belief could be that you're not good enough for something, because that's ultimately not true. Or you may be thinking that you're in danger when you're not really in danger, right? It's just that you're avoiding doing something because it's outside of your comfort zone, but you're not really at risk of anything harmful happening to you. It's just that whatever it is feels unsafe because it's something that you're not accustomed to. You're going to have to take a little bit of a risk, get out of your comfort zone, and that makes you feel a little bit scared. So those are the moments when you have limiting beliefs that you need to clear, that you need to talk through, think through, and oftentimes journaling is really great for helping you to overcome or work through your limiting beliefs. So an example of quitting because you don't think you're good enough or you're scared would be if I had quit my PhD program that I talked about in the last couple of episodes when it was time to write my dissertation. That would be me, making that decision from a fear-based place, because there was a time where I felt like I didn't have what it took. Like I felt like I wasn't good enough to be able to write a dissertation and to defend it. So if I had quit my dissertation program at that particular moment in time, it would have been because I didn't believe in myself. And that's not the time to quit. Instead, it was really important for me to reevaluate my perspective on things and to overcome my limiting beliefs that were getting in the way of me achieving my goals. And I did that, and I moved past them. I reframed my thinking, and I ultimately achieved my goal. I did write the dissertation, I did defend it, I did graduate with my PhD because I overcame those limiting beliefs rather than quitting when I felt the fears and the doubt arise within me. But I also have some incredible stories that I've heard about women, incredible female entrepreneurs who are millionaires, multimillionaires, who made the decision to quit something from a feeling of love for themselves because they were doing what was best for themselves at a particular moment in their lives, when they felt like whatever I'm in or whatever I'm involved in this particular moment in time is no longer serving me. I'm out of alignment with who I truly am. This no longer feels good to me. So an example is Amanda Francis, and I mentioned I'm in one of her courses right now. She quit her PhD program to focus on her business. She didn't feel like being in the PhD program was in alignment with who she truly was anymore. And if you're not really familiar with Amanda Francis, I think I've talked about her a little bit in previous episodes, but she's a thought leader. She's an author. She has a book out, and she's writing another, but the book that she currently has out is called Rich as F. And she's oftentimes referred to as the money queen. She teaches a lot about money mindset, and she has an incredible empire at this point, an amazing business. And she quit her PhD program to prioritize her business, and it has really paid off in significant ways. Another example of a mentor and an incredible female entrepreneur that I love is Michaela J. She's, I've already spoken about her and said that I'm in a couple of her courses. Like, she's the woman whose courses I'm in as well. And she brought up this amazing story because I know that when I was in college, like, I would have never done this. And so I have so much respect for her that she actually did this. She quit college when she was only one semester away from graduating. And she did that from a love-based place, a loving place for herself, because at the time her business was thriving. She was doing incredible work in her business. She was living in Bali, living her best life. And she just knew that her business was her priority and that that's where she wanted to focus her time and attention. She knew that it was best for her to direct her time and energy towards her business rather than this, the classes that she was signed up for that her heart wasn't in. She just didn't want to do it anymore. And so she made the loving decision for herself. She honored herself. She got back into alignment by just quitting school, and it paid off, and she's incredibly successful. Like, there's nothing, written in stone that says that to be successful, you have to finish college, you have to finish a PhD. Even though for me, like I said, when I was going through those phases of my life, I didn't believe that. I believed that I had to finish a PhD program. I believed I had to finish college, I believe that I had to have those degrees to be worthy, to be of value, and to be successful in life, in business, and to create wealth. And I no longer believe that, because there's so many examples of that not being true, right? Where there are alternatives. So I do value my degrees. I value everything that they gave me. And if I hadn't gone through these programs that I've gone through, I would have a different form of knowledge. I wouldn't have exactly the same knowledge that I have now. And I also wouldn't have some of the dearest relationships that I have, that I've developed. Some of my best friends come from these programs, and some of my most beloved mentors come from these programs. So, there are aspects of it that I don't regret, that I, wouldn't change. But again, I just think if you are thinking to yourself that you'll only be good enough or worthy enough or be able to achieve whatever goal that you have in your life, means that you have to have certain degrees or certain credentials, just know that that's not true. And that's something that I've also wanted to talk about in another episode. So another issue about being out of alignment or doing something, like forcing yourself to do something that you no longer feel good about, is that when you force yourself to do these things, you typically have resistance around doing them. Like, you're not giving them your all. You might be avoiding tasks that you need to take care of, or you might be procrastinating. You might be just like straight up low vibe. But this comes about, like the resistance comes about because you're not being true to yourself. As I've already mentioned, your true self, your higher self, is not on board with you doing this thing that you no longer want to be doing, or that you never wanted to do in the first place. And something interesting I learned since I've been in this course with Amanda Francis is that you can manifest things that actually block you from achieving your goals or something you said that you wanted, because something in you doesn't actually want it, which blew my mind. I was like, huh? But it's so true. And in terms of life update, I can tell you that it's really been true for me in my business, that I realized after listening to one of Amanda's modules that, I had manifested something in the, at the end of July that's actually continued through the end of September that really blocked me from moving forward in my business. But when I first heard her say that, I was like, what? Like, what do you even mean? But she gave a very clear example about how she was working in her business at one point in time, but she felt like she really wanted a break. Like, she wanted to take a break, but she wasn't allowing herself to take that break. And that she wound up manifesting an illness that put her out of work for 2 weeks. Because she just didn't honor herself. Like, she wasn't in alignment. She didn't honor herself. She didn't do what it was that she truly wanted to do. Like, she was forcing herself to keep working when she really felt like she needed a break from the work. And so she manifested something that made her take that break. And that was an illness, which is super unfortunate. And initially I was thinking to myself, because what it was is that I was in the Relentless Revolution, which is a challenge that I spoke about a few episodes back with Michaela J., one of my business mentors. And for that challenge, I had to do, or everyone in it, had to do 5 tasks every day for 30 days that got us closer to achieving some of our manifestations or our goals in life. And that could have been in your business, your personal life, wherever. But what it was is that you had to commit to doing the same 5 things every single day for at least 7 days. And after 7 days, you could change your list, your list of priorities to 5 different things. But you always had to stick with those things for 7 days, and you had to stick with this challenge for 30 days and take a photograph that was related to you having finished, at least one of those items on your priority list as a form of accountability, and posting it in a Facebook group. Anyway, the thing is that, I was making progress towards my goals. I was leveling up, but there were things that I was doing for my business that I really did not like. They were things that I felt like I should be doing, but that I, to be honest, really hated. And, it was like drudgery. I was forcing myself to do it. And it wasn't about Michaela or, having those 5 priority things that I had to take care of, because I was the one who chose the tasks. I could have chosen tasks that would have been more in alignment, tasks that I really would have liked to up level. But instead I was doing things that, and business people say that you should do if you want to get to your next level, if you want to attract clients, if you want to be successful. And I wasn't being true to myself. Like I felt like there was no space for me to be myself in these tasks that I was doing. And it made me feel really uncomfortable, but I wanted to hold myself accountable. So I just kept doing these things, even though I really hated them. And so towards the end of this challenge, at the end of July, I just felt like my life just started to be on fire. Like negative things were happening every single day. And I couldn't see how I had manifested those negative things because I hadn't been like thinking about those specific negative things happening in my life. Like I wasn't worried about those specific things. So there was this disconnect where I was like, why are all these things happening? Like, this is insane. Like, why is my world on fire? This is like, everything's like a disaster. It's just like crazy. And it was like thing after thing after thing. It was like every single day. And so when I finally got to a neutral place, like towards the middle of September, I was so relieved. I'm like, oh my goodness, like I'm at least at neutral. I don't feel like things are great, but at least I'm at neutral and it's not like something bad is happening every single day. But then I heard this module from Amanda, where she spoke about manifesting things that block you. And then I realized that I manifested these crazy things that blocked me from focusing on up-leveling in my business and making progress in my business because something in me didn't want it. Like something in me didn't want to do those tasks that I was doing and I didn't want to be successful in doing them, because the thing is that once I became successful in doing those things, like maybe I say that I made progress doing those things in my business, that would mean that, like, you know, if I wanted to keep the momentum up in my head, I would have to keep doing those same things I didn't like in the first place. And so, like, why would I want to do that? Like, keep doing those things to sustain my business if they were making me so unhappy. So I manifested all these crazy things that took my time and attention away from my business because I was really preoccupied with them. Like, to a certain extent, I couldn't even sleep at night, right? So then that became the excuse for why, you know, certain things were not moving forward in my business, because it's like, oh, this thing and that thing, thing is wrong, that thing is wrong, right? But when Amanda highlighted this thing, you know, this blocking yourself, you say you want it, but you don't really, something in you doesn't really want it. I was like, oh boy, like I have to take responsibility for my own life and the things that I'm manifesting in my own life. So then I realized, okay, something's got to change. Like, I have to be the one to change. And there are these things that I clearly don't like, and I need to move on from them and try a different way. So I reached out to my coach, Michaela, because in one of our courses, it's a coaching course where she's coaching us. I, you know, told her there was this thing that just wasn't working in my business and I didn't want to do it anymore and I wanted some alternatives, and, like, you know, I suggested some alternatives, but I also said to her, you know what, I'm also open to you know, identifying any limiting beliefs that I might have around doing this thing or the way that it's being done, because maybe I'm just not seeing it, and I'm cool with you, like, calling me out on that. And so she straight up called me out on it and, like, pointed out all the limiting beliefs that I had around it. She was like, you know, basically telling me that right now you're doing things that you think that you should be doing. And so you're not, but, you know, like, I'm not quoting her verbatim, but basically that I wasn't being authentic. I wasn't being authentic because I was doing what I think I should be doing instead of doing the things that I want to do and the things that I like to do. And that I would not want to, that I should not be doing things that I don't, like, I should not. That she would encourage me to not do things that I don't like in my business because, you know, I'm supposed to be creating a business from a place of happiness, you know, doing things that I love to do because that's more sustainable, right? Doing things that I don't like, it's just going to be hard to keep up with it. And I need to do things from where I am right now, things that I feel comfortable with right now, things that light me up right now. It was so funny because I'm pretty sure she hasn't listened to the latest episode, you know, episode 7 of my podcast, because, you know, she's in Paris. She was in Paris recently living her best life, so I don't think she was listening to it, but I thought it was wild that she basically gave me my own advice. If you go back to episode 7, I talked about being perfectly imperfect, giving yourself grace, and just be okay with that, right? And just putting yourself out there, taking risks, all this stuff.
And, even though I haven't gone into detail about all the advice that she gave me, it was basically the same thing. Like, she gave me my own advice, and I was like, damn, not Michaela serving me my own advice that I need to take. It's in a different context, but I was like, wow, that's so true. So, I mean, in the end, I feel relieved because I'm back in alignment. And when she said what she said to me, I remembered all the things that I do like to do in this area of business that I was feeling resistant to because I was doing things I didn't like. And now I'm gonna still do it, still focus on the same area, but do it according to my own standards, do the things that I like to do within this space. And I know that I'm going to have better outcomes because like attracts like. And so when I'm doing those things from a place of love and happiness and joy, and that becomes my dominant vibration, and I feel good when I'm doing those things, then I'm going to have better outcomes. So thank you, Michaela. Thank you, universe. Thank you, Amanda. So overall, the point is that if you're doing something that doesn't feel right to you, then you're going to feel some level of resistance, some level of friction, because you're forcing yourself to do something that you don't truly want to do. And manifestation is about ease. Like, you can easily manifest the heart, what's in alignment with your heart and your true self. When you're taking action that feels good to you, then it's easy and it doesn't feel like work and it doesn't feel like suffering and it doesn't feel hard. And this reminds me of what I've heard from both Amanda and Michaela. They both have said it all works. Like, it all gets to work. Like, they've said that someone who's an expert might tell you that there's only this one way to achieve your desired outcome or to achieve success. But there are multiple ways of getting to the same goal. There's not only one path to success. There's not only one path to achieving a goal. So if someone tells you, like, this is the only way, there's only one way, that it's simply not true. And that you get to decide for yourself what feels right to you, what feels good to you, regardless of what anyone else is telling you is the only way. That isn't the only way. Just like the only path to success is not to go to college or to go to get your master's degree or to get your PhD or to get licensed in a particular area. You can do life the way that you want to do life. You can achieve your goals the way you want to achieve your goals, and you don't need to force yourself to do things that you don't want to do. You don't have to force yourself out of alignment just because of whatever society says you should be doing. And the best way to be in alignment is to follow your heart, trust yourself, listen to your intuition. That's the way you manifest. That's the way you achieve your dreams and live your best life. All right, so what can you take away from what I've shared with you today? The truth is, the bottom line is, it's time to listen to yourself and your intuition. You know what's best for you, okay? So ask yourself, what do I really want? What feels good to me? And forget what anyone else has told you that you should be doing. It's okay if your decisions seem crazy. It's okay if other people don't get them yet, because as I've said, typically when I've just followed my heart and it works out, because I can't say that I followed my heart and things haven't worked out. Every time I have trusted myself and my intuition and I've done what I felt called to do, and I felt good about it, and I made that decision from a place of love rather than fear, things have always worked out for me. And then the people around me get on board and they understand, and I'm like, all right, I get it now, even if they don't initially get it. All right? So who cares what everyone else thinks, okay? Because this is your life, this is not their life. And again, if you've been forcing yourself to do something that you dread or you feel lackluster about, and you've been thinking that you want to quit, but you haven't given yourself permission to do it because you don't want to seem like a failure, ask yourself if your decision to quit would be coming from a fear-based or, place, or you just not feeling good enough, or a love-based place. And if it's from a fear-based place, clear those limiting beliefs, disprove them, they aren't true. And if it's coming from a love-based place, then just trust yourself, be willing to take a risk, to create your best life for yourself and to live life on your own terms, to be your own person, to be more in alignment with who you truly are, because you deserve that. Honor yourself. All right, my dear, that's what I have for you today. So if you loved what you heard today and you really benefited from it, please take a screenshot of the episode and share it on your Instagram stories and tag me so that I know that you shared it and I can reshare it. And also follow the episodes, like not the episodes, follow the podcast, because you can do that on Spotify, or you could subscribe on Apple Podcasts and get an update as soon as I release a new episode. And I release a new episode every single week. Yeah, and that's it. And until next time, I love you. Bye.